Greetings, everybody. This is Leviathan here, and today Blizzard has dropped off a nice birthday present for me. It's my birthday today, November 1st. We, hot off the presses, have a PTR 2.7.2 preview, and the PTR is slated to start later this week, Thursday, November 4th. It's going to run for 2 weeks like it normally does, and we get the preview of the upcoming season, Season 25. This seems particularly interesting. I just did one quick read through of this to get familiar with what we've got going on here. So let's dig into the details. All the typical stuff is happening for PTR. So you get the legendary drop rate increase, increased experience, double blood shards. Dank meme is there to kind of facilitate getting the new items and things that they've changed. And one of the things that gives us an early look at what to expect from the PTR is when they tell us kind of what to focus on. So here there's class and balance changes around the Witch Doctor, Barbarian, Necromancer, Wizard, and Demon Hunter. Some of these are buffs, a lot of these are buffs, and some are nerfs. So let us proceed. The seasonal theme for Season 25 is Soul Shards, and this one seems really interesting. The rest of this is just the typical how to get into PTR, what to focus on, and there will be a link to this in the video description so you can go over it at your own pace, everything like that. Feel free to take a look. So this is Season 25, Nephilim can find 7 unique soul shards that are based on the Lords of Hell, which give players demonic new powers. We don't have the details of these in this blog post, but what they tell us generally is that there are going to be 3 primeval soul shards that you can equip in your helm, so 3 options there, and then 4 lesser evil soul shards that you can equip into weapons. Each one can be upgraded 3 times using a new seasonal exclusive consumable called the Hellforge Ember. So that's pretty peculiar. They're going to be what look like things that will replace kind of the normal gems that we would, more often than not, you're going for some sort of CDR in your helm. In the weapon, it's often the, emerald for critical hit damage. So these are not places where we already were using legendary gems for the most part. So it's going to be intriguing to kind of have what seems to be a seasonal legendary gem type of effect, perhaps, coming into these slots. So more power for players, I assume. It'll be interesting to see exactly what the details are. I don't know, like, if these are modeled after the primevals and such. Like Mephisto, like, the Shard of Hate kind of already embodies Mephisto, but maybe his primeval soul will do all sorts of cool elemental damage and things like that. It's just one example off the top. And the upgrading of it 3 times is pretty intriguing. So that means there's going to be progression here. There's going to be reasons to keep working with these things. But hopefully each one kind of offers an interesting option so that, based on if you're doing speed GRs or pushing or something like that, then you can swap between and you'll care about multiple ones rather than just like one soul shard to rule them all, So I'm very curious to hop into testing on Thursday and check this out. As to how we obtain them, they can drop from anywhere in Sanctuary, but they have a higher chance to drop from bosses. So this is pretty cool because it's kind of bringing back something in the spirit of D2, where people used to do a lot of boss runs, right, with like Hell Mephisto. I've been playing a lot of D2R, as I just said in my last video, so I'm very keenly ensconced in boss runs these days and such, so this is kind of a nice throwback to that. The soul shards can't be traded, so it's pretty similar to how ethereals work right now, where they are not tradable with players at all, even if you're in the same game with them. But you can salvage them. I wonder what they salvage into. Maybe similar to ethereals, where you're getting like increased, Death's Breaths and maybe keys or something like that. Maybe there'll be interesting salvage there. And you can also utilize them in Kaldhesan's Despair, which to me this is interesting because that means like maybe they operate like the gems. And I'm thinking about regular gems, right? So like in Kaldhesan's Despair, you'd have to put was like 3 normal or 3 flawless royal, whatevers to get the thing that you're going for, right? So vitality with the amethyst or strength with the ruby, etc. I'm curious how it gets worked into Kaldhesan's Despair, or if it maybe has. It doesn't sound like they level up like a legendary gem would, so you wouldn't be getting the gem level to go into how much of the power you'd be getting, right? Because like a level 100 gem gives you 500 of whatever, right? 500 vitality, 500 strength. So I'm curious how that interaction will work. Something to figure out when we get to test. And you can only equip 1 primeval soul shard and 1 lesser evil soul shard at a time. So that's pretty interesting because obviously some builds do dual wield. Every build only really has 1 helm slot, so that kind of makes sense for the primeval soul shard, but definitely an interesting distinction there, that you can only have 1 lesser evil soul shard. So maybe if you are dual wielding, you'll have that extra critical hit damage, but then one of these soul shards as well. And then lastly, they're only in seasonal play and will not transfer to non-seasonal. So this is bringing back that same mechanic that we have with Ethereals right now, where you get to enjoy them for the season. They're an exciting thing for that, but like it's an enticement to play the season, but you will not be able to get them in non-seasonal, and they won't transfer over to non-seasonal. So it's like your reason to season, if you will. So I do like that they are continuing to do that, because it allows them to maybe make these really powerful things. Who knows what the level of these will be, but you know, they can do that without the fear of, oh goodness, all these things are going to roll over into non-seasonal and trivialize the game and such. So it just gives them more room to work with in the design space, I feel. So they mention here with the developer's note, the 25th anniversary of Diablo franchise is upcoming. You want to delve into the darker side of the Nephilim's past. In Season 25, you can embrace evil, infusing yourselves with the essences of the Lords of Hell. So that, again, you know, seems to me to call to like the powers of the lesser and prime evils. So maybe it's going to model themselves after like Endariel and Duriel and all this stuff. Players are going to embark on their season journey, discover, upgrade the demonic soul shards based on the 7 Lords of Hell. By embodying these, players will inflict new forms of pain and suffering on demons. Can't wait for players to get their hands on. So yeah, very, very cool. I like the sound of this, and I'll be curious to see drop rates, power levels, the upgrading process. There's a lot to discover there. So Thursday's going to be lit. It's going to be a fun day. As far as balance goes, we do have some item changes here. So Remorseless, I wish, one thing that I will say to the developers, if you guys are watching, or I guess whoever writes the patch notes, right? One thing that would be amazing is if we could see the change actively in the patch notes. So like, what is Remorseless, right? What did this used to be? I did look it up. So while both Wrath of the Berserker and Call of the Ancients are active, Hammer of the Ancients deals 229% increased damage. It has a range of 200 to 250. And so they just super increased that here. So it'd be nice if we saw like the strikeout of the old and now the new, you know, just so we could have that comparison. I didn't do this for every item, but you know, I guess the experts of each class will be able to tell you exactly what the particulars of the changes will be and how they will impact things. I can give you some rough guesstimates though. So the note here is that for the Barbarians, they wanted to increase Hoda, the playstyle for it, but without putting more power into a specific set. So this is just like a you know, cube this or maybe wear this or something. There's Gavel of Judgment out there and things like that for Hammer of the Ancients as well. So it's just going to give you some extra deeps when you're going for Hoda builds. And I think it's like looking to be synergistic with IK, right? Because you're permanent Wrath of the Berserker and Call of the Ancients in that setup. Here we have tons of love for the Witch Doctor, finally, some might say, because it feels like the Witch Doctor has been behind the 8-ball for many, many seasons now. Although with the Ethereals, you know, they kind of worked their way back into the 4-player meta, but my goodness, they needed love, and this is looking like some interesting love here. So for this Shakrani's Triumph, and I wish I did pull up more of these, I just wanted to get the video out quickly, so maybe you know, like Big Daddy Den will have big research for you into what the Witch Doctor is getting here exactly. But in this new power, or maybe it's a modified power, Spirit Walk lasts until you attack 3 times or until an elite enemy is within 20 yards of you. Attacks while in the Spirit Realm deals 75 to 100% increased damage. So that seems pretty intriguing. This is going to give you some ability to stay kind of hidden in Spirit Walk, which is cool. So defensive, and you also get some offense out of it as well. This is another welcome change here, Lakumba's Ornament. I am familiar with this item. This is a bracer. Everyone uses this because you need the defense for the most part, unless you just go pure glass cannon on your Witch Doctor. So this reduces all damage taken by 60% if your Soul Harvest stack is at least 1 to 3. So this makes it nice in case you... although, I wonder what this is even necessary for, because as far as I know now, they made it so that if you had 10 stacks for Soul Harvest and then refreshed it on one enemy, you would still refresh all 10 stacks. So I don't know. Actually, I guess what this does is just makes it upfront that you get 60% even with just one enemy, so you don't have to like run around and try to get like 10 enemies right away to get the full bonus. And then you get an additional 2% for each stack of harvest. Interesting. So I wonder if this is the variable, because that basically means you want the low end of this, right? Because you want the 1 to get the 60%, and then your next 9 would give you another 18% on top, versus if you had the 3, then your next 7 would give you, you know, 14%. So there's a little bit of variance there. It seems interesting. I guess this is also one where if you get a primal, right, it should roll the low end as the desired effect, if I'm interpreting that one correctly. And then we have a whole bunch of stuff for corpse spiders because they made changes to the Spirit of Arakir set. They're really trying to double down on this spider, thematic, making the set really have a home with spiders and the Spider Queen and corpse spiders. So you have a few items here. Spider Queen's Grasp, I believe that's a weapon. Corpse spiders deal an additional 600 to 800% damage, release a web on impact, slows enemies. Brood of Arianai, corpse spiders deal an additional 75 to 100%. Each spider bite causes the target to take an additional 1% damage from corpse spiders for 5 seconds. That's always one of those interesting powers that they say, it ramps up, but they don't tell us what the limit is. So I wonder if this is like just insane amounts of stacks, or if there is a limit on the stacks, because that sounds like it could be very powerful. How many stacks can you get in 5 seconds? How do you scale that? Like maybe there's some attack speed shenanigans and things, so that could be interesting. And then the Spirit of Arakir set itself, the 2-piece bonus, the corpse spiders spawn with health and attack twice as fast. So see, this is what I was just talking about, right? Like more attack speed here means that this can increase this effect, kind of ramps this up even faster. And then on the 4-piece, you get the permanent Spider Queen, leaves behind webs that last for 15 seconds, slows enemies with that. And then you take 75% reduced damage while you're in the web. That's a lot of damage reduction. And the Spider Queen is commanded to move to where you cast your corpse spiders. So they're giving quite a nice amount of damage reduction to the Witch Doctor, which has been one of the major complaints of people that love the class. So I like to see that. So if you combine this with the Lakumbas, because this could essentially become now like a, 1878. So this could be like another almost 80% damage reduction. Then you have an almost 80% one on the 4-piece as well. That's a lot of damage being reduced. So it's looking much better for their health and wellness of the Witch Doctor. They wanted to rework the set, as well as several legendary items. With these, hope to infuse Spirit of Arakir with some more flavor in gameplay, give Witch Doctors a much needed power increase. So there you go. A little bit of Demon Hunter action here. We got some Marauders changes. So this is kind of crazy. I can't believe they're actually doing this. I hope it stays, but they're giving sentries the old legacy rework. So now, they have this ability to, each sentry deals 400% increased damage and cast Elemental Arrow, Chakram, Impale, Multi-Shot, Cluster Arrow when you do, as well as automatically casting your equipped Hatred Spender. So we're going back. We're going back to the original, put your turrets down and play tower defense while your sentries do their own thing. So it's kind of interesting though, because it combines the ability to have them attack with you, but then also cast these. It's gonna get so weird because there's all these, previously there were like breakpoints and how fast they would attack based on like attack speed values and things. So now it's like, will your attacks interrupt their ability to automatically cast, or is it just all like multi-layered? That's gonna be a fun one to test out and figure out how to get the most out of it. And then on the 6-piece bonus, same thing, primary skills, Elemental Arrow, all the panoply of things, offerings here, deal 12,000% increased damage for every active sentry. So I think that's just another increased damage buff from what it normally is. So they're pumping out the damage. They're trying to give Marauders a nice damage increase, and then, like I said, return this legacy playstyle, which is so nutty. I'm really curious to see that. I actually tried to make this build. This was like back to season 1. I tried to make it because they were going to nerf it. I like barely got the pieces together, so I never really got to play it. So I might have to give Marauders a try. Sentries has always been my least favorite playstyle because it's so passive, but we'll see. And then a little love for Shadows, my favorite build of all time. Impale still has this crazy 75,000% weapon damage to the first enemy that gets hit, but then there's also now a 25,000% to the subsequent enemy. So this is going to give it a little bit more AoE capability, because the ideal gameplay for it at the moment is to have an elite, that be your first target, and then surround stuff around it so that you're getting the attack speed bonuses from that one gem that I cannot remember right now, but that gives you attack speed when you crit enemies nearby and they start bleeding. So this is going to make it so that you probably will still play that same scenario, but now you can actually kill the trash around your initial target as well. So that is pretty darn good, because that should speed up some clears for Shadows, both on the speed GR side but also the pushing side of things. So I like that. Adjusted Demon Hunter's Marauder set to give it some of its legacy functionality, shifted power back to the sentries, and then we buffed Shadow's Mantle to make it more effective against multiple targets. For Rathma here, each permanent active minion on the 6-piece bonus increases the damage of Army of the Dead by 1,750%, going up to 31,500%. So here they're doing a redesign. It wasn't as strong as they had initially hoped, so they're giving it more power. Makes sense. Rathma did get that rework relatively recently, but didn't really make a splash. So I guess this is their attempt at trying to get players to use this set for the Necros. We'll see how that goes. And then you saw it coming from a mile away. You knew it was going to happen at some point. Firebirds is getting turned down in power. So on the 2-piece bonus, Disintegrate ignites the enemies. They take 1500% weapon damage per second until they die. And then same effect of reviving, a 60-second cooldown. You become a Phoenix and reborn. And then on a 6-piece bonus, 2500% increased damage while Ignite is applied to a target. Hitting an ignited enemy with a non-channeling fire spell deals Ignite damage multiplied by your combustion stacks, which is part of the 4-piece bonus that you have. So they mention here that, you know, they reborn Firebird Fightery in 2.7.0, so 2 patches ago. It's been one of the strongest builds in the game for everything since then. It's very, very strong. It's time to reduce the power. And that is it for what's coming in 2.7.2. So basically, if you're a Barbarian, a Witch Doctor, or Demon Hunter, some cool things for you here, some things to celebrate. If you're a Wizard, you're maybe a little sad, but not a big deal. Oh, and Necro. I don't think it's a Necro, but if you're a Necro, maybe celebrate as well. Wizard, probably a little sad, but you saw it coming. So this seems like an interesting shakeup. I think the biggest winner here is obviously the Witch Doctors. Got the most changes, so this will be fun to play around with and see how this build will operate. And then I think the Demon Hunters will have some interesting things going with Marauders, so that should be fun. And then the seasonal theme just seems really intriguing. Without all the details of exactly what these shards do, it's hard to say, you know, how good or bad it'll be. But certainly we're going to be in there testing. I want to hear from you guys in the comments. Let me know what you think about what's the upcoming season of Soul Shards and what you think is going to happen with them and what powers they might give us. Let's do a little, you know, predictions perhaps before things get kicked off on Thursday. I'll be back with some coverage early and then maybe deeper into the PTR to let you know exactly how it's turning out. So I want to thank you guys for watching this video. Hope you enjoyed. I'll probably stream some of that later this week as well, so feel free to check it out at twitch.tv/Leviathan111. Again, thank you for watching, and I'll catch you in the next video. Adios for now.